Hey, this is Crafty here, and this is going to be an interesting video on the subject of...
Attention! Attention, everybody! Attention!
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to me. I hope it's interesting to you. I've not really heard many people talk about this subject, so let's get right into it. Yeah, so just a quick disclaimer before we get into it. I've not done any formal study on human psychology. This is just going to be from my own personal experience and a little bit of research that I've done. And look, I just hope to inspire some thought, and it's just a bonus if I get to help you out at all. So I just got to do a quick backtrack before we start on the actual subject itself. I got to ask, why are we attracted to either playing or singing music? So one is we like listening to it. So the next logical step is that we want to take part in executing it. Also, the act is a stimulating activity. Being music fans, we have music heroes, and so that gives us inspiration to want to follow in their footsteps. And the other video subject reason why is because we'd like to receive attention.
Watch me die! Watch me die! Watch me die! Watch me die!
Okay, we're watching!
I hope we're not spoiling them. Man, you were what? Did I do a double whammy with
So before we delve right into this subject, we should talk about what is the word attention. How do we define it? So basically, it's just taking notice or giving some focus to someone or something. So what types of attention are we looking to receive as human beings or as musicians? Well, getting noticed for your existence is probably the most common one. Acknowledgement for your hard work, attention from the opposite sex, and attention from other musicians or other people from the music industry. Now, seeking attention can have a certain amount of stigma attached to it. Now, in a lot of ways, it's not necessarily a bad thing. As a human being, we have a certain amount of needs and wants, desires. So if you think about it, a musician is going to need a certain amount of attention to be able to function. For instance, if they're performing on a stage to a big audience and they get no applause, well, it's kind of like, well, hey, we're giving you guys something. Wouldn't you give something back? And also, if you think about it, the audience would like some attention in return, say acknowledgement. Now, when I decided that I was going to do this video on this subject, I thought, well, I'll just do a quick bit of Googling on the subject. And so one of the things that I found was that if you're promoting a show, if an artist is promoting an upcoming event of some kind, well, it's literally seeking attention. And so we need it. If we're going to be doing any promoting of any kind, well, then we need to be seeking that attention. Otherwise, as musicians, we're going to be performing to no one. And the audience needs that attention given to them so that they know that a show is on. If there's going to be no band, then there's going to be no audience. So we need to have some sort of attention giving and receiving. Another thing I found on my Googling was that there's a band that understands this philosophy so well that they decided to call their own cover band Seeking Attention. So big ups, guys. You understand what's going on. So how does anybody go about getting attention? Well, there's a few ways. You can be really loud. You can be different, you can be really, really good or really, really bad. And for me, I find that I try and just sort of have an individualistic, unique type of approach, and I always try and execute with a high level of quality. Now, I think that the word attention is kind of just sort of on the face value. There's a lot of underlying things that go with seeking attention, and so I should use the word validation in some instances, because if you're seeking attention, you possibly are seeking some validation. And so what is validation? You're seeking a feeling of value or a feeling of self-worth. Now, I'm sure that you've got your own experience for seeking attention, seeking validation, and I think that it's something that we should talk about because in my experience, not a lot of people talk about it. They might talk about it in the comfort of like a safe environment where they've got a friend, like a close friend, compadre, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it like this. So I'm just going to give you some of my experiences, but if you would like to share some of your own, then leave some comments below. I was in year 9 and I'd been playing guitar for a little while, and we were on year 9 camp later in the year in year 9.
Oh, and this one time at band camp?
And there was my mate Paul, who was also learning guitar, and he was a similar level to me at the time. And it was one of those nights on the school camp when we were allowed to just have some free time. You're allowed to watch a movie, and I remember that the movie was Dumb and Dumber that had just come out that year. And so I was just chilling with some dudes away from the movie because I'd already seen it. And then lo and behold, my mate Paul brings out his guitar and starts playing. And then a crowd of people flock around him. And then I'm thinking like, I want a chance to be able to just showcase some of my guitar skills as well. And I'll never forget, there was another guy, Scott, who noticed how eager that I was to pick up the guitar and just do a bit of showcasing myself, because he said something like that I was drooling, or that I was, that couldn't tell that he's waiting to play guitar. And I was a bit like, no, I'm not, And then there were stages where I'd start performing. I would always go up to people after we'd perform and I'd say, hey, what'd you think? And I kind of cringe at that a little bit now, because over time, eventually I kind of got used to people saying, yeah, like I really liked it. And so I got to the point where I didn't ask people anymore, and then I guess I felt that it was a bit more of a genuine type of response to the music and the performance if someone would come up to me without me asking them, and if they said that they liked it, well then I thought, well they really liked it. So in a way I was kind of happy that I didn't have to go out and seek to get some sort of a praise for my music or my performing. But the bad thing about it, the negative thing that sort of developed over time, is that I developed a sense of that I was either perfect or I was way too awesome to be able to take in any constructive criticism. So thankfully over time I've sort of been able to manage my level of the praise or the just attention that I want to receive. So if you're wondering about some of your musical heroes and what their level of attention seeking is, well, for me, one of my musical heroes, Quan from Regurgitator, I just remember in an interview that he said this.
What got you interested in music and wanting to make it?
I think it was just a reaction to being just a loser at school, really. I mean, typical kind of nerd reaction.
Defense mechanism.
Well, yeah, just to get some attention and just to feel good about myself, essentially. It was a esteem thing.
Did it work?
Oh, I think so.
You must be feeling pretty good about yourself these days.
Oh, I feel fine about it. I'm better than school anyway.
So I remember thinking at the time, like, wow, like this guy's really honest. Not a lot of famous musicians open up that much in an interview situation. So when is attention never enough? I remember a party one time I was at where there was a bunch of friends all catching up together and there was some background music on, and then all of a sudden a guy just brings out a guitar, sits just by himself and starts wailing away, strumming really loudly, and it's kind of like, dude, it's not really the time to be performing right now. This is a setting for just people to be catching up, and there's already music on. So be careful when the right time is to be doing some attention seeking. Another time you can tell that it's never enough for someone is if that you're talking to them and the conversation always seems to go towards them and their music. Now also with my Googling, I also managed to find another really interesting story to go with this subject, and it was with a guy called Norman Lamont. So I'll leave a link below if you want to read the full story, but I'll just read an excerpt of a part of his blog. For 4 years I'd been creating music with an imaginary audience, dreaming that one day I would discover people who like my music. It had become a central fantasy, and now it was becoming real. You'd think I'd be satisfied. You'd think I'd be happy. After our second headline gig, quite a few people had congratulated us, shaken my hand, asked if we had records, praised the songs and the performance. I started the drive back home. It was nearly midnight. I was reflecting on the way people had been complimenting the music, liking my performance. And suddenly, so suddenly, I can still see the bend in the road where it happened. I realised it wasn't enough. I still wanted more, and I would always want more no matter how much I got. It was a terrifying vision of endless dissatisfaction and craving for approval. I came home shaken. For the next few days, I couldn't bring myself to contact the band. It was a wake-up call that said if I continued to try to feed my ego this way, I would always be hungry. I couldn't see a way to get up on the stage again without starting the whole process. I would have to find a way to make music for my own sake, in its own time, not just to get people's approval. But yeah, isn't that interesting? For me, I find that I have somehow managed to become comfortable with just sometimes seeking attention, knowing that if I'm going to be performing, that I'll be doing that type of behavior just sort of automatically, so that it's more for the audience's benefit. What's interesting about me is that if I am not performing, well then I don't really like any attention at all. Like if I'm just going down the shops to buy a loaf of bread, well then, I mean, sometimes it's nice to be noticed and all of that.
You're amazing, dude.
I just like to just be just a normal human being. And another interesting fact that really irks my family and friends is that I don't like birthday parties. I don't like celebrating and giving myself extra attention and focus when I feel like that I get that as a regular music performer. So I guess I got to that point where I had enough validation where I felt like, yep, I'm okay as a human being. I feel like that I'm worth something to somebody out there, and so I felt comfortable. And so if I'm not receiving it, it's okay. But yeah, like if you're not at that point, if you feel like that you need it, it's okay. It's something that we do need as human beings. So it's just good to know where it is where you're at. So some other reasons why people don't want to seek attention is that they just want to do it for themselves. It's a hobby and they like to do it in their own safe, quiet environment where there's no distraction and they don't need any attention. So the next point I relate to quite a bit, being a full-time musician that performs in a lot of different settings, is that I don't want to step on the toes of the other people that are the ones that are demanding the attention. Some people don't want to seek attention because they might be afraid that there may be some negative feedback that they might receive. And I'm sure that there's a bunch of different various reasons why over the years some parents of students that I've been teaching have said to me, they say, like, our son or daughter doesn't like to play music for us, like, around the house. But let me just say, as a music tutor myself, that if you're someone that's having music lessons and your parents are paying for them, well then just play them something every now and then, you know, keep them happy. They deserve to hear a little bit, don't they? Now, if you don't like having too much attention, I've got a few suggestions. Play in large groups, if you can find a large group, because that way all of the attention won't feel like that it's being all on you. You'll be sharing it. But perhaps if the large group is commanding too much attention as a whole, well, maybe you'd prefer to just perform as a background music type of scenario. And also, maybe you wouldn't prefer to perform music at all. Maybe you'd still like to be involved in the music industry. And so in that case, well, you could be like a songwriter. You could work in the behind the scenes at live events, or you could be a journalist. Do something that doesn't involve as much attention.
Every time we say goodbye, I die a little.
All right, there you have it. My name is Crafty, and I have really enjoyed going through all of these different elements of being an attention seeker and receiver. So let me know, what was the number one thing that was a thought-provoking thing for you? Let me know in the comments below. And just before I go, I've got something to offer you for free. In regards to this attention-seeking thing, what we need to do as human beings is we need to evaluate from time to time, how good are we? How are we going in this crazy musical journey? So I've got an ebook. It's a free download. It's called Actually, How Good Are You? And I give you all of the steps to take to be able to figure out where it is that you're on your musical journey, but also where it is that you want to go. Yeah, I hope you found this video interesting. If you want to discuss any of it, then go to the Crafty Music Tips Facebook group and we'll chat about it there. Until the next video, I'll say see you later. Take care of yourself. Keep rocking.